Poverty is not a monolithic condition with a single cause, nor is it simply a moral failing or stroke of bad luck. Understanding why someone might find themselves in financial hardship requires examining the complex interplay of structural forces, individual circumstances, psychological factors, and systemic barriers that shape economic outcomes. Economic systems and wealth concentration. Modern capitalist economies inherently concentrate wealth. The returns to capital consistently outpace wage growth, meaning those who already possess assets accumulate wealth faster than those who rely solely on labor. If you start with little capital, you're running an economic race where the rules favor those who began ahead. Wealth begets wealth through compound interest, investment returns, and access to opportunities that require upfront capital. The labor market has fundamentally transformed over recent decades. Stable middle-class jobs with pensions and benefits have given way to contract work, gig economy positions, and service sector employment with stagnant wages. Real wage growth has failed to keep pace with productivity gains or the cost of essential goods like housing, healthcare, and education. You may be working harder than previous generations while earning less in relative purchasing power. The geography of opportunity. Where you were born profoundly shapes your economic trajectory. Growing up in neighborhoods with concentrated poverty means attending underfunded schools, having fewer employed role models, facing higher crime rates, and lacking access to networks that lead to quality employment. Economic mobility is significantly lower in areas with greater segregation, income inequality, and weaker social capital. Your zip code can be a better predictor of your life outcomes than individual talent or effort. The high cost of being poor. Paradoxically, poverty itself is expensive. Without access to credit, you pay higher interest rates on loans or resort to payday lenders with predatory terms. You can't afford to buy in bulk, so you pay more per unit for everything from groceries to toilet paper. You can't afford preventive health care, so minor issues become expensive emergencies. Your car breaks down because you couldn't afford maintenance, causing you to miss work and lose wages or even your job. These poverty penalties create a self-reinforcing cycle where limited resources generate additional costs that further deplete those resources. Time poverty and decision fatigue. When you're poor, cognitive resources are consumed by immediate survival concerns. Research shows that financial scarcity actually reduces cognitive capacity, the mental bandwidth available for long-term planning, skill development, or strategic decision-making. You're not making poor decisions because of character flaws. Your decision-making capacity is being taxed by the constant stress of managing scarcity. Additionally, working multiple jobs to make ends meet leaves little time for education, job searching, or the relationship building that facilitates upward mobility. Asset barriers. Building wealth requires not just income but the ability to save and invest. When you live paycheck to paycheck, there's no surplus to set aside. Without savings, any unexpected expense, a medical bill, car repair, or job loss, becomes catastrophic, often pushing you further into debt. The lack of assets also prevents you from taking calculated risks like starting a business, moving for better opportunities, or investing in education that could improve your earning potential. Educational and human capital deficits. The quality of education you receive is heavily determined by parental income and local property taxes. If you attended poorly resourced schools, you likely received inadequate preparation for higher education or skilled employment. Even if you were talented and motivated, you may have lacked guidance counselors, AP courses, test preparation, or college application support that more affluent peers took for granted. Higher education, often essential for economic mobility, has become prohibitively expensive. The prospect of massive student debt may have deterred you from pursuing degrees, or if you did attend, that debt now constrains your financial options. Meanwhile, the signaling value of education means that without credentials, you're excluded from many opportunities regardless of your actual capabilities. Social capital and network effects. Economic success is heavily mediated by who you know. Social networks provide job referrals, mentorship, business opportunities, and informal support systems. Growing up poor often means your network consists of others who also lack economic resources and connections to opportunity structures. You may not know anyone who works in high-paying industries, can introduce you to hiring managers, or can advise you on navigating professional environments. This network poverty compounds over time. Without access to internships, often unpaid and therefore inaccessible without family financial support, you lack the experience and connections that launch careers. Without mentors from professional backgrounds, you may not learn the unwritten rules of workplace advancement. Learned helplessness and constrained aspiration. Repeated experiences of blocked opportunity can lead to learned helplessness, a rational adaptation to environments where effort doesn't reliably produce results. If you've applied to hundreds of jobs without success, invested in training that didn't lead to better employment, or watched peers work hard without escaping poverty, maintaining optimism and effort becomes psychologically difficult. Additionally, aspirations are shaped by what seems possible. If no one in your community has achieved certain outcomes, those paths may seem unrealistic rather than merely challenging. This isn't a failure of imagination, but a reasonable response to observed probabilities in your environment. Present bias and rational short-termism. Behavioral economics identifies present bias, overvaluing immediate rewards versus future gains, as a contributor to poverty. However, this framing obscures an important reality. When the future is uncertain and the present is precarious, prioritizing immediate needs is rational. If you don't know whether you'll have housing next month, investing in retirement seems absurd. What appears as poor planning may actually be survival-oriented decision-making in conditions of extreme uncertainty. Health as both cause and consequence. Poor health both results from and contributes to poverty. Limited access to healthcare, nutritious food, safe housing, and low-stress environments damages physical and mental health. Conversely, health problems reduce earning capacity through missed work, diminished productivity, and medical expenses. Mental health conditions, often exacerbated by the stress of poverty, can impair the executive functioning necessary for navigating bureaucratic systems or maintaining employment. Chronic stress from financial insecurity produces measurable physiological effects, including elevated cortisol, inflammation, and accelerated cellular aging. You may be experiencing poverty in your body, as well as your bank account. Systemic discrimination and identity-based barriers. Poverty rates vary dramatically by race, gender, disability status, and other identity categories, reflecting not individual differences but systemic discrimination. Hiring discrimination, wage gaps, differential access to credit, and biased treatment in educational and criminal justice systems all channel certain groups disproportionately toward poverty. If you belong to a marginalized group, you face additional barriers that compound class disadvantage. The wealth gap between racial groups, for instance, reflects centuries of policy decisions, from slavery to redlining to discriminatory GI Bill implementation, that systematically prevented asset accumulation in certain communities. Policy choices and political economy poverty levels are heavily influenced by policy decisions. The erosion of union power, reduction in progressive taxation, inadequate minimum wage adjustments, and gutting of social safety nets have all contributed to rising inequality and poverty rates. These weren't inevitable economic developments, but political choices that prioritized certain interests over others. You may be poor, partially because the social contract that once provided pathways to the middle class, strong unions, affordable public education, accessible healthcare, housing subsidies, has been systematically dismantled. The rules of the economic game have been rewritten in ways that make upward mobility increasingly difficult. The myth of meritocracy and just world fallacy. Modern society promotes a meritocratic narrative. Hard work and talent determine outcomes. This ideology serves important functions for those who benefit from current arrangements, but it obscures the reality that outcomes reflect privilege, luck, and structural position as much as or more than individual merit. The just world fallacy, the belief that people get what they deserve, leads to victim blaming and prevents recognition of systemic causes. If you've internalized this narrative, you may attribute your poverty to personal failure rather than recognizing how the deck was stacked against you from the start. Toward honest analysis. Understanding why you might be poor requires looking beyond individual choices to examine the systems, structures, and historical processes that shape economic outcomes. Poverty results from the interaction of labor market dynamics, wealth concentration, educational inequality, network effects, policy choices, discrimination, and numerous other factors that create and maintain economic stratification. This analysis doesn't absolve individuals of all agency or suggest that choices never matter. Rather, it contextualizes individual circumstances within larger structural realities. Recognizing these forces doesn't mean accepting poverty as inevitable. Indeed, understanding root causes is essential for effective intervention, but it does mean abandoning simplistic narratives that attribute complex social outcomes solely to individual virtue or vice. The question, "Why are you poor?" cannot be answered without examining why poverty exists at all, how economic systems distribute resources, and which policy choices and power structures maintain inequality. Personal factors interact with these larger forces, but neither can be understood in isolation. An honest reckoning with poverty requires acknowledging both individual experience and structural reality. Recognizing that in an unequal system, many people's poverty reflects not personal failure, but the predictable outcomes of how we've chosen to organize economic life. Is poverty an individual's choice, or a combination of many factors? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if this resonates with you, subscribe for more insights on the transformation of consciousness. Further, you may check out more of our videos on religious deconstruction, Christian deconstruction, Muslim deconstruction, and life deconstruction, and let us know about your deconstruction needs.